In the heart of Moscow, the Kremlin stood as a testament to Russia's rich history, a fortress that had witnessed centuries of power struggles, betrayals, and bloodshed. Beneath its grand walls, in the depths of its shadowy corridors, lay secrets far darker than anyone could imagine. Nikolai Ivanov was a seasoned historian with a fascination for the macabre. His latest research had brought him to the Kremlin, where he hoped to uncover the truth behind the many ghost stories that surrounded it. With special permission, Nikolai was allowed to explore the ancient structure after hours, when the crowds had dispersed and silence reigned. On his first night, Nikolai wandered through the grand halls, his footsteps echoing against the stone floors. He felt a chill in the air, a stark contrast to the warmth of the summer evening outside. The dim light from his lantern cast long shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. As he descended into the catacombs, a sense of unease washed over him. The air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to close in around him. Deep within the catacombs, Nikolai stumbled upon a hidden chamber. The walls were lined with ancient relics and artifacts, but what caught his eye was an old, tattered diary resting on a pedestal. The diary belonged to Anastasia Romanov, a young woman who had lived in the Kremlin centuries ago. According to the diary, Anastasia had been accused of witchcraft and imprisoned in the Kremlin's dungeons. She wrote of her suffering and of the dark rituals she had performed to summon a spirit that would grant her revenge. As Nikolai read the final entries, he felt a sudden drop in temperature. His breath became visible in the icy air, and the lantern flickered, casting eerie shadows around the chamber. He heard whispers, faint at first, then growing louder and more distinct. Panic set in as he realized he was not alone. The ghostly figure of a woman, her face pale and eyes hollow, materialized before him. Her lips moved, but the words were a haunting echo in his mind. "Why have you disturbed my slumber?" she asked, her voice a chilling whisper. Nikolai tried to speak, but his throat was dry with fear. The spirit moved closer, her eyes locking onto his. She raised a skeletal hand, and the room began to spin. He felt a crushing weight on his chest, as if the very air was being sucked out of the chamber. Just as he thought he would lose consciousness, the spirit vanished, leaving him gasping for breath. Shaken but determined, Nikolai continued his research, now more convinced than ever that the Kremlin was haunted. Each night, the encounters grew more frequent and more terrifying. He saw shadowy figures darting through the corridors, heard footsteps following him, and felt an unseen presence watching his every move. The ghost of Anastasia seemed to be growing stronger, feeding off his fear. One night, as he pored over old manuscripts in his room, a powerful gust of wind blew open the windows.